text. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Hello, Baltimore City. I am Greg Hunt. I am your host for this evening, and we are at the MOED Training Opportunity Partner Spotlight. And I want to introduce a good friend of ours, Ms. Sade from JARC, the Addams Resource Corporation. Would you like to say hello to our viewers out there?
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here at the MOED Training Partner Spotlight. Thank you so much, Mr. Hunt, for having me.
I appreciate you coming. So before we have Ms. Sade share about JARC and what they provide, I want to kind of go over some updates far as the centers at MOED, so you know what's kind of going on with the centers and how we can still help provide services to y'all guys. So just to let y'all guys know that select centers are still offering limited on-site services by appointment only. You can call any one of our career centers to set up an appointment where you can come in person and meet somebody with the staff. Just to let you know, as a reminder, masks still must be worn at all time and social distance practices are still in place, and you will have to sign in and do a temperature check. But we're still offering services remotely as well. So you can visit moed.baltimorecity.gov to learn more about some of those remote services that are still available to Baltimore City residents. And just another update, we're still posting jobs. We're still using the Maryland Workforce Exchange to post jobs as well. So if you're going to mwjobs.maryland.gov, or you can check out our now hiring board. You see the link below to see it's over 300 jobs. My good buddy Bill Collins would say it's over 300 good jobs that we post on the now hiring board, job board through MOED website. So with that, now it brings me back to you, Ms. Sade, to share about JARC. And once again, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you carving out the time to come and share with us about JARC and the wonderful program that y'all guys provide for Baltimore City residents. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I will pass it over to you.
Thank you so much. And again, I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be able to share these amazing resources with our community members. So thank you again. And everyone, hello again. My name is Sade Harrison, and I'm the program coordinator here at JARC Baltimore. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Careers in Manufacturing program here at JARC, specifically how we train individuals in CNC and welding to be prepared for careers in the manufacturing industry. So today we're going to talk about all the different types of career readiness and readiness training that we offer, how to become a JARC trainee. And before we get into the meat of the presentation, I just want to tell you a little bit more about myself. I'm a Baltimore native, born and raised here in Baltimore. My granny grew up in Park Heights, so I'm very much a part of the Park Heights community. And it's very important and a full circle moment for me to be back here in Park Heights and sharing these economic resources with so many of our community members. And I'm just really grateful to have that opportunity. So enough about me. Now let's talk about JARC. So JARC Baltimore, JARC is short for the Jane Addams Resource Corporation, Baltimore. And our organization, again, trains individuals in CNC, and that's computer numerical control machining, or welding. So we have 2 specific training tracks that you could study when you get here. JARC promotes strong communities, businesses, and households to ensure that people who work do not live in poverty. The great thing about exposing individuals to manufacturing careers is that there are so many opportunities for advancement when you get into these entry-level CNC or welding careers. And JARC makes it our mission to make sure that our trainees understand that we're trying to get people into more than just jobs, into careers and into gainful employment. So how do we do that? JARC provides high quality, would you mind just going back to this last slide? Thank you. JARC provides high quality skills training and support services to help lower income and underemployed workers achieve self-sufficiency. You can go to the next slide. Beautiful. So now that we know a little bit about JARC's training program and what we do here at JARC, let's talk a little bit more about the history of the organization. So JARC's founding organization or affiliate organization in Chicago was founded in 1985 as a response to economic development. So initially we were a community development organizations that focused on keeping good manufacturing jobs in Chicago neighborhoods. So if you're familiar with Chicago in general, you know that that's a big manufacturing city. A lot of skilled labor happens in Chicago and the surrounding cities. So it was very important for organizations like JARC Chicago to advocate for people living in those communities who also work in those communities. So over the years, since the manufacturing industry is changing, JARC Chicago's focus has also changed. Now we don't only focus on job seekers who advocating for those people who need jobs in their communities, we're also focusing on our employment partners, focusing on building pathways and building relationships with manufacturing partners so that we can find places for our trainees to go when they get started and graduate out of our program. So naturally, in 2015, when our organization was brought up in Baltimore, then we have a very similar focus. Our program focuses on providing that hands-on skills training and then also building relationships with manufacturers so that we can create a pipeline for individuals to funnel into these manufacturing jobs as soon as they get their certifications at JARC. So JARC Baltimore and its sister organization in Chicago have been focusing on addressing the skills labor gap that exists in the manufacturing industry. And what that gap basically means is that there are a ton of manufacturing jobs for people to do in our cities and in our states, but there is not enough skilled labor to fill those jobs. So that's where JARC comes in, trains individuals who might not have had any experience in the manufacturing industry and gets them ready to start their careers working as a CNC machinist or as a skilled welder. Next slide. So now that we talked about the history of the Addams Resource Corporation and what we do, I want to take a look at some really interesting manufacturing labor statistics here in Maryland. So I chose these 2 graphics because I want to demonstrate how important it is that programs like JARC exist here in Baltimore and in Maryland. So these 2 graphics show a snapshot of the manufacturing industry in Maryland, that's figure 1, and then the second figure talks about the manufacturing industry in Baltimore specifically. So let's take a look at figure 1 together. And this is from a NAM report. NAM is the National Association of Manufacturers. And this report is based on Maryland's manufacturing output in billions. So as you can see from 2013-14, the manufacturing industry's output was somewhere around $10 million, where that's what manufacturing jobs were giving out to the Maryland community. That's how much money they were making in that industry. So if you take a look 5 years later in 2018, manufacturing demand and also output has increased doubly, like almost from 10 million to right over $20 million. So what that tells us is that there are billions of dollars being made in the manufacturing industry. And what that means, those billions of dollars are equal to millions of jobs that need to be filled by people. So JARC trains those people to fill the jobs in this booming industry. So now let's take a look at chart 2, or our second graph. And this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now this one is a bar graph, it's inverted. So the numbers that we're looking at are decreasing, but this shows the percent of job demand change during September 2020. And this is a very pivotal year because this is when the pandemic happened. And in September specifically, the world had already been hit by the pandemic. We're seeing all different sorts of job loss. So that's what this graph shows. Each individual sector in Maryland, you'll see the information sector, education, healthcare, and manufacturing over here at the bottom on the right. But what I want to point out first is the government, healthcare, and informational sectors. If you take a look at that purple bar, which is representative of the Baltimore area, versus the blue bar, which is representative of the national average, in those industries, let's take information, for example. The Baltimore decrease in job demand is a lot higher than the national average. So what that would have meant is that if you're a healthcare if you're an information worker working in Baltimore, you're more likely to lose your job here in Baltimore because our rates of job loss is a lot higher than the national average. Now, if you take a look at the manufacturing bar, which is all the way over to the right, and it's represented by this very small purple bar, which represents the manufacturing jobs in Baltimore versus the national average. Now, as you can see, the national average is a lot higher for how across the world, many more people lost their job in the manufacturing industry versus in the Baltimore area. So what that tells us, even though in a worldwide pandemic where we can expect job loss across all industries, the manufacturing jobs in Baltimore were less affected than other industries nationally. And even through the pandemic, we've been filling those manufacturing jobs right here in Baltimore. Next slide. You can skip this one. So I just want to take a look at JARC's impact for a second. So since we've been able to continuously fill these positions in the manufacturing industry, we have amazing outcomes and what we do to improve our communities. If you take a look at the top photos with the smiling happy faces in it, those are people who have been placed in manufacturing jobs since the pandemic started, since March 2020. And that just gives us a better snapshot of that. While a lot of other these industries might have slowed down or closed down, the manufacturing industry is still hiring people, still looking for people to work in their factories. A lot of the setup actually is socially distanced. You'll see our machines are like 6 feet apart, and usually most manufacturing shops. So it kind of worked out for the manufacturing industry. The clients that we serve right here in Baltimore, before starting our program, many of them knew what it was like to work a full-time job and felt like they still couldn't get ahead, or felt like they want to go back to school, but didn't know how they were going to pay for it or how they were going to afford it. All the while, locally and nationally, the demand for skilled workers continues to increase among manufacturers here in Baltimore. So if you're a person who feels like you want to start that career and don't necessarily know where to start next, you should definitely consider learning more about the manufacturing industry. There's a lot of job security in the industry, and they're always hiring new entry-level employees. So JARC's job training and workforce development program, we target that skills gap in the regional manufacturing sector, such as the need for CNC computer numerical control machinists and welders. So in these industries that exist all over Maryland in general, we have so many manufacturing companies that exist here. These industries and occupations have the ability to offer families sustaining wages, benefits, and career paths to move people out of cycles of poverty and into lasting careers. Next slide. So how do we do that? How does the JARC model focus on creating these pathways toward economic development for individuals who live in our community? We have a very detailed outline, but the main thing is just operating as in simulated work environment. Individuals, our model focuses on providing that occupational skills training, that hands-on training, but we also focus on supportive services, and that creates an environment for continued growth. So So if we take a look at all of our program facets, I want to start first with us operating as a simulated work environment. This is a wonderful benefit for our trainees because it's a lot less like school and a lot more like work. So when individuals come into our program who might not be used to clocking in and out every day, putting on their welding jacket and equipment before heading to the booth, your training program, your time here at JARC really gives you the practice so that you can be a successful employee when you do enter the workforce. Another great facet of our program is that we're open entry and open exit. We're always accepting new applications. Our curriculum is meant to be self-paced. So that means if a person comes into our program and it takes about 14 weeks to finish the welding program, but they can get it done in 12 or 11 weeks. That's encouraged. If you're a person who's highly motivated and you want to get your certificate sooner rather than later, we encourage you to get through the curriculum faster. Rather than longer. So since we're open entry, open exit, we're always accepting applications on a rolling basis, so you can apply anytime throughout the year. We also, in addition to that hands-on training, we have these supportive services. And I always tell people that hard skills is what it takes to get a job. That's what you do with your hands. But soft skills, what you learn here in our soft skills classes, is what it takes to keep a job. Mm-hmm. That's how to talk to your employer. That's how to advocate for yourself in these salary meetings. That's how to learn how to monitor your credit score, what it takes to save up enough to put down a down payment on a home. Those soft skills are essentially what keep our trainees employed versus just working and moving from job to job. Another cool service that we offer, supportive service that we offer, is this work readiness training through financial and employment coaching. So you will have coaches here when you come to the training center that will work on financially guiding you, working on your resume, cover letter, and all those things will be essential to you finding employment at the end of your service. And once you get your certifications, you'll begin working one-on-one with our job developer. And that person is going to be the person that helps you outline your career after you leave the program. So once you get those certs, you're meeting with our job developer one-on-one to talk about which manufacturing companies, which industries are going to be best suited for you. Another great thing about the coaching and supportive services is that we make sure you get interview clothes. If you're a person who doesn't have that, making sure you're dressed to impress when you go into your interview. We also make sure you get transportation on a weekly basis, whether you need a bus card or a gas card. We provide that for you to make sure you can get to your training every day and complete our program with your certifications. Once you complete, you get national credentials from the American Welding Society, the National Institute of Metalworking Skills, and even OSHA. And all those things will help lead to gainful employment for you. Next slide. All right, so now you're probably wondering, are all these supportive services, how do I become part of the program? Well, let me tell you how. Here are some eligibility requirements to get into JARC Baltimore's Careers in Manufacturing Training Program. So first, you just have to be authorized to work in the US. You have to be a Maryland state resident, whether that's in the city or the county. You have to be over the age of 18. We are also a criminal background friendly organization, which means that if you have blemishes on your background, we are able to accept you into our program. So don't feel stressed or feel like you don't want to apply because you might have some blemishes on your record. The only thing that we can't accept right now is sexual offenses. And during your one-on-one interview, you can be as upfront with that as you like, and we could possibly refer you out to other programs that might be able to support you. We also are not a high school diploma. We also do not require a high school diploma or GED certificate. And the reason why we don't require those things is because we do CASAS testing at entry into the program. So our CASAS testing will test your math and reading level and give us a better idea of where you are academically, so we can find a spot for you in the training program. Finally, you must be able to pass a drug test. And this one is a really important one. A lot of times we'll see at entry level, we lose trainees because they might not have taken that as serious. I know marijuana is becoming legal in Maryland, but the manufacturing industry has a no tolerance policy. So it's really important to take that stipulation seriously. And when you come into our program, be ready to test. Next slide. Okay, our application process. Now, this will give you a snapshot or a better outline of how you actually get into the program. So, first step is attending an informational orientation session. Those are happening right now via Zoom. So, that's the first step of coming into the program. We'll talk about how to sign up for orientation at the end. Next is completing your one-on-one interview with myself and testing with our CASAS testing. Now, your acceptance into the program is wholly based on your CASAS test score as well as your one-on-one interview. So those two things you want to make sure you're scoring well in the math and reading section, and also bringing your best to the one-on-one interview, because that's how we decide if you're going to become a potential trainee. If you're not selected to become a trainee, then you're referred out to the South Baltimore Learning Center so that you can work on your skills, brush up on your skills, retest, and hopefully be accepted into one of our programs. After you're accepted, we have an onboarding date where you'll complete your funding paperwork. And after that, you can call yourself a trainee because you'll get a start date. Now, more information on our training tracks. Now, I'd like to dedicate a slide to this information because it can be a little bit confusing, but I'm going to try to break it down for you real quick. So there are two different ways that you can get into our training program. So you can either join our program as a fast tracker or as a person in our fundamentals bridge class. So in order to be a fast tracker, meaning you're coming to the program every day, working toward getting your certificates, you have to score at or above an 8th grade level in your reading, math, CASAS assessment. If you do that, then you're considered a fast tracker. You'll be working in your CNC class or welding class, and usually those classes happen between Monday through Thursday, 9:15 to 4. Now, say you're a person who comes in and tests for CASAS, but you score below that 8th grade level, specifically between a 5th and a 7th grade level. Then we have you in our manufacturing bridge or fundamentals course. And this course is still a part of our program, but this course is designed to help you brush up on those shop math skills, print reading, and meteorology, so that you can eventually, in a few weeks, become a fast track student and work in your welding and CNC classes. Now, that class is about half day, Tuesday through Thursday. And if you are a person who tests and you're unable to get into the bridge class or fast track, then you would be referred out. If you have test scores in math and reading below a 4th grade, we'll refer you to the South Baltimore Learning Center so that you can get your scores up to test into our bridge or fast track class. And I know that's a lot of information, but feel free to email me if you have more questions about that. All right, so now a little bit more information about our specific training tracks. So first we have precision welding, and you can see our awesome lady representation in our CNC and welding classes. I love to see it. We don't have much women representation in either of these industries, so it's really important for me to recruit women that look like me to go on in these positions. So I just want to give those two ladies a shout out. Next slide. Perfect. So now here are a little bit more details about our CNC track. Usually at a starting wage, we see people going into or with their certifications, going into a CNC machinist position, making anywhere between $10 and $15 per hour. The last 3 CNC machinists that I placed made more than $15 an hour. So that's just an average starting wage. Depending on your experience and your skill level, how well you do on that interview, and how well you advocate for yourself, you might be making a little bit more than that at your entry level. This CNC also has strong advancement opportunities with the potential to earn anywhere between 30 and 70K for your first year. There's plenty of overtime and a half. And if you take a look at the calculations below the picture, say you're working at $15 an hour, you get an hour and a half of overtime every couple days. That's an hour and a half every day, and that's $22.50 extra that you're making every day. Put that on a paycheck, and you could be making up to $225 extra dollars per week just because you chose this industry that has a lot of overtime options. When you graduate from our program, you'll get your national credentials from NIMS and also OSHA. And our CNC program takes usually about 20 weeks to complete. Similarly, our welding course or our welding training track, generally individuals are making between $10 and $14 an hour as a starting wage. Strong opportunities for advancement, making you have the potential to earn 20 to 70K per year. The great thing about welding and CNC is that there are full-time positions, part-time positions, and contract options available. So imagine you're a person who wants to work 10 months out of the year, and 2 months you're on vacation. You could be a contracted worker in the manufacturing industry, making the salary that you want, just taking on the contracts that you need. So I love the flexibility that happens in these industries. When you graduate from welding, you'll get your American Welding Society credentials as well as your OSHA. And there are also many, many opportunities for overtime, making up to $210 extra per week just because you do about an hour and a half of overtime. And finally, I just want to take another quick beat to talk about the Manufacturing Bridge Program. And this is really important for me to talk about because I'm one of those people who struggled a little bit in college. You know, I had to retake tests and retake classes, and that's okay. If you're a person who has not brushed up on your math skills in reading or brushed up on your math skills, high school math or high school reading, it's really important to know that this manufacturing bridge class is for you. You come in, you score, you're at a 6th grade level, that's okay. This bridge class is meant to work on your fractions, decimals, algebra, geometry, to get you ready for that shop math that you'll be working with in your eventual training degree. So I just really like to point out the fact that manufacturing bridge exists and it's for you guys. And as another few points that might sway you toward welding or CNC, here are some of the applications that you can use those certifications in. So one of our welders last week actually got a job at the Port of Baltimore with his welding certificate. So you can take, like, the applications of your welding certificate could go into shipbuilding, automotive industries, construction industries, mechanical industries, and even aviation industries, you know, welding parts for cars or airplanes, whichever works best for you or whatever your interests are. And some of the applications of CNC certificates can be making signs for one of our manufacturers, Strum, or Eddie's signage and manufacturing. You could also make cabinets and furniture. There are also opportunities to do prototyping and 3D modeling with some of the more technologically advanced manufacturers that we work with and that exist in Maryland, and even some applications for musical instruments. I didn't know that our CNC machinists could take that to, you know, the music industry, but that's another thing. If you're interested in, do some research and find a career that fits your interest. All right, so we're coming to the end, the last few slides here. So how do you become a JARC trainee? And this is step 1. I'm going to give you guys the goods now so that you can sign up for orientation and get your foot in the door now. So how to sign up for orientation. Here's our orientation schedule. Sorry if it's a little small for everyone, but our next orientation date is happening on June 28th. That's tomorrow. And that's either 9:30 or 3 p.m. This is a fully open Zoom session, so you can attend the 9:30 session or you could attend the 3 p.m. session. And this is your opportunity to ask all the questions you have about our program, learn more about our specific tracks and how to get into it. And if you go to the next slide, here's how you can sign up for orientation. You can sign up very simply by going to jarcbaltimore.org, hitting the job seekers tab and signing up for our next orientation. Or if you have more questions before you take that step, feel free to email myself at shadeh@janeaddams.org or our amazing program manager, Katrina Jones, at katrinaj@janeaddams.org. I would love to hear from community members to see if this is something that you're interested in, and I'd love to answer any questions that you might have about our awesome program. So again, guys, thank you so much for having me, and I hope that everyone who tuned in got information about this program and is signing up this afternoon.
Well, Ms. Sade, I want to just say thank you again. That was a great presentation, showing the charts, just how that industry is growing, and even during the pandemic, that people are still working in the manufacturing field. I also love how you talked about the wraparound services that you provide for people financial, bus passes, gas cards, things of that nature, because it's all about making sure that they have the resources and tools needed to successfully pass the training so they can find gainful employment and start their career. And just having national shirts allow them to go anywhere in the country.
Absolutely.
To do welding or CNC. So that is phenomenal. And I understand when you talked about it makes no sense because when you talked about the passing the drug test, because I was reading something today how it's they're trying to get that pass for marijuana, but you got to understand you dealing with power tools.
Yeah,
it's all about safety.
Heavy machinery.
Yes. So
yep.
and so it's just a phenomenal program. Thank you for sharing. I do have one question with the bridge. If you're not on the fast track, but you're in the bridge career, are you still participating in the training piece while you're going through the bridge, or you doing the bridge for a couple of weeks and then get back into the fast track?
So the latter is the answer. So individuals who are working in the bridge class, just take that 2 to 4 weeks to brush up on their skills before we can allow them in the shop. And it's really important that they understand blueprint reading and meteorology before we get them working on machines. So so in the bridge course is kind of like a introduction to what you'd be doing in the shop.
Okay, fantastic. So once again, I want to say thank you. Phenomenal presentation. I will look forward to having you back in the future to share this and be able to meet in person.
Yeah.
But I just want to say thank you for taking the time out and sharing this. And that was really great information.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So with that being said, guys, just kind of wrapping up a couple things to share with you before we head out of here. But MOED, we have other Facebook Live events that we do. Tuesdays at 1 p.m. we do job preparation and career readiness workshop. And then Wednesdays at 1 p.m. We have our Employee Baltimore. We have business service team talking about employment opportunities that's available out there to y'all guys to apply for. And I would say make sure if you want some assistance with that, please go to the link that you see scrolling at the bottom to get further assistance. There we go, right there on the next slide. If you need any help or you want any more information, please go to the assistance request form. There's the link. If you need help with resume assistance, interview preparation, referrals to employers, training information like we just did, or career guidance, please come to us. We can help you and get you connected to the right resources and to the right people. But once again, Ms. Sade, thank you.
Thank you.
And to y'all folks out there, to Baltimore, we love to help and serve. So if you need any help, come and ask, and we'll definitely help you out. But until next time, be safe, and we'll see you later.